Welcome to the tutorial for Hands-On 4. To do this tutorial, like before, we go on to the Osmosis and Flexibility website. Over here we click on Course Content, scroll down to Lecture number 5, where we find Hands-On 4. Again, please have a read over this document. So the learning outcomes are to define technologies representing the domestic production of energy commodities and define the technologies representing the import of energy commodities. Please have a read of this so that you understand what's going on. In defining technologies representing the domestic production of energy commodities, there's 4 variables that we need to define. So 4 parameters. That is the output activity ratio, variable cost, total technology model period upper limit, and total annual max capacity. So to do so, the instructions are set over here. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do min call. So to do this, firstly, we close this, we come to this PC, local disk C, OSeMOSYS and FlexTool, we go to HO3, like in the previous video, we copy these. So this is the SAND interface that we used in HO3. Go back to OSeMOSYS, over here we create a new folder, we call this folder HO4, we go inside it, we paste the SAND interface, we click on rename, and we call this HO4. Afterwards, we open the Excel file. It usually takes some time to load, and this is going to be the case for most of your Excel files. So, just so that you are aware, there are 3 technologies here that will need to be defined: min coal, min oil, and min NGS. I'm only going to show you min coal. You can do the 2 on your own. Once the Excel file opens up, we click on Enable Content again. So, in order to do this, what we need to do is firstly go into Sets. In Sets, what we're going to do is we're going to add min coal and coal. So min coal as a technology, firstly we go into cell B4 and we type here min coal. So this is the code. And for the description, what we're going to add is coal domestic production. Coal domestic production. After we've put this in the commodities, we're going to add coal. So COA. And what we're going to call in the description is coal fuel. Then we go into the parameter sheet. So make sure that everything is selected over here. In the technologies, we're going to unselect everything and select only min coal. Click OK. So once we've done this, we go back onto the hands-on and we click on the data prep file in the new link. This is again the Excel file that contains all the data that we'll need to input into the SAND. Once the page loads, we go over here, we scroll down, and we download data preparation for Hands-On 4. Once the Excel file has downloaded, we open it. So we click on Enable Editing. You can see that there is many sheets over here. For now, we're only interested in min col. So what we're going to do, we're going to come over here and scroll down until the page looks like the one that we were just using. Going back onto the hands-on, we see that the parameters that we need to add is output activity ratio, variable cost, total technology model period upper limit, total max capacity, and capacity to activity unit. So we're going to change these. What we do now is we go onto the data preparation file and we go one by one. So we scroll down over here and the first thing we find that we need to add is the capacity to activity unit. Here it's specified as 1, so we go onto the sound interface. In this case we scroll up until we find the capacity to activity unit. Here we put this as 1. Then we go back onto the data preparation file. And the next variable that we need to look for is going to be the output activity ratio. So we scroll down until we find the output activity ratio. Keep in mind, as it is shown over here, the input activity ratio is 0. And there is no capital cost associated with this. This is a very small number. So if we compare this to the sound interface, it is exactly the same. The operational life is 1, which is the same for us. So over here, the output activity ratio for coal is put as 1. So we do the same on the sound interface. So output activity ratio, coal, 1. Now, we can see that in the data preparation file, 1 is put for the whole range. So we have to do the same. We repeat as we've done before. So Control C, Control Shift right arrow, Control V. We go back onto the data preparation file and we scroll down. So here we find the total annual max capacity. It's put as a very large number. What we need to do is we need to copy this. So total annual max capacity, we set it as the big number like before. It has not copied, so I'll copy again. Paste as values. Control C, Control Shift right arrow, V, Control V. Okay. So we've added this. We can go ahead and change also the total annual max capacity investment to the same number. So Control Shift right arrow, Control V. We go back onto the data preparation file. So after we've copied and pasted the total annual max capacity investment, is the next thing we need to add is the total technology period upper limit, activity upper limit, which is this. So we control copy this, go to the data, to the sound interface, and we paste this over here. The last thing that is needed to add is the variable cost. So the variable cost, as you can see, it differs. So we need to copy the whole row. For that, Control Shift right arrow, Control C, then we come into the sound interface, click on the first cell for variable cost, right click, paste values. For the sake of consistency, as you can see over here, the total technology annual activity upper limit is also a bigger number than the one specified in SAND. So one on the SAND interface is 99,000. So let's copy and paste this as well, just to make sure everything is consistent. So now we Control S. Even though it is not a requirement, in the data preparation file, the reserve margin tag technology for min coal has also been put as 1. We shall do the same, just for the sake of consistency. So we find the reserve margin tag technology and we put this as 1. So Control C, here we go. So this is how you're meant to add the data for main coal. And in this case, what we've done is we've defined technologies representing the domestic production of energy commodities. As it states on the hands-on, the same steps have to be repeated also for min oil and min natural gas. You can find the data for this in the data prep file. Here is min oil and here is min natural gas. In this video, this is not going to be shown. So you can copy and paste using the exact same method that we used just now. So now we need to define technologies representing the import of energy commodities. So what we're going to do is we're going to add import coal. Import coal. So the first thing that we do is we go to sets. So we go into the sound interface, go to sets, and in cell B7 over here, we type in IMPCOA, and in the technology description we type in import of coal. We go back onto the hands-on. So the data that needs to be added is the output activity ratio, variable cost, and capacity to activity unit, as it is presented in the data prep file. So what we do, we go to the data prep file and we add import. We go to import coal sheet and we look for the said data. So the first one that we're going to look for is the capacity to activity unit. And the capacity to activity unit is set as 1. So what we do is we go into the sound interface, parameters. Now, in column C, we unselect min call and we select import call. We scroll up until we find the capacity to activity unit. So here's the capacity to activity unit, and we change this to 1. Then we're going to need to add the output activity ratio. So we go to the data prep file, and we see that the output activity ratio for coal is set as 1 for the whole period. So what we do is we go back onto the sound interface, look for output activity ratio for coal, and we set this as 1. Again, for the whole modeling period, Control C, Control Shift right arrow, Control V. The last thing remaining that we need to add is the variable cost. So we scroll down, and we find the variable cost. So again, the numbers differ. So to copy this, we do Control Shift right arrow, Control C. We go into the sound interface. We scroll right to the bottom. And over here, for variable cost, we right click and we select paste as values. Now, just like it was the case for min call, over here, we can see that the reserve margin tag technology has been put as 1. So we copy this as well. This is not necessary, however, we do this for the sake of consistency. So, reserve margin tag technology, paste as values. Then we Control C. Now, if we go back to the hands-on, we will see that the same steps have to be repeated for import oil and import natural gas. So, repeat the same steps until your sets looks like this. So, if we look at the one that we did just now, in sets, min natural gas and min oil is missing, and import of oil and import of natural gas is missing. So, you need to repeat these steps on your own until you get the same sets picture. Add the data from the data preparation file. So after next to import coal, there is import oil, import natural gas, and there is min oil, min natural gas. This is what is required to do for this hands-on. Thank you for watching.